draw upon. This winter we had a competition among our membership for trophy designs for the Simon Combs Conservation Award. We received many excellent design concepts. This one that we ultimately chose was from Peter Gray. It's bronze. From Peter Gray, who's now living, originally from Zimbabwe, is now living in South Africa. And so we're very pleased. Kat, perhaps you'd like to do the honor.
We're terribly honored and overwhelmed by this award, and so proud to be able to present it to such a magnificent person, supporter of wildlife conservation, and a good friend of science. Thank you very much, David.
Favorite animal, wildebeest, nothing thing.
For those of you who don't know, David flew here having to leave very shortly for for another major celebration in just a couple of days. David will be celebrating his 75th birthday. Wow! And there's a fairly large to-do, I gather. And in his 70th birthday, he raised over £100,000 during this event, and we would really hope that he does equally as well or exceeds it in this latest celebration. In any case, thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, I'll follow that. My goodness, I don't know what to say. I'm so overwhelmed. Honestly, isn't it? They said if you've got the nerve to speak in public, you've got to get people laughing. And I've apparently got an ego. I think it must be my wife who told me that once. I know I have got a gigantic ego, but if you've got an ego, I think you also have to tell stories against yourself to show you have a degree of humility. And I've got so many stories, I can't tell more than one of them or a couple of them, but I do a lot of public speaking engagements in the UK, and we sold in the interval, and they're purely to raise money for wildlife for my charity. And in the interval, I sold a print to a chap. It wasn't a limited edition, it wasn't signed therefore. When he bought it, I said, shall I sign it? He said, no thanks, it'll spoil it. I also get introduced as Mandy Shepherd's father now, because she's a qualified artist of gigantic stature, and I get introduced to her as, you know David, he's Mandy's father. That does me a lot of good too. But there we are, enough of that. But I just will very briefly, before I talk about my great mate Simon, say how I got involved with conservation very, very quickly. It didn't come over, it came on overnight, it wasn't a gradual process, and you actually quite unintentionally stole my words telling the story about the zebras.
Sorry.
I'll do it again. No, not right. No,
you can elaborate.
I will, I'm going to. No, but I was born in 1930. This party, by the way, next Wednesday, yes, in fact, I don't start from too much. It's, we know the Dorchester Hotel is probably the finest hotel in London. And they are celebrating their 75th birthday as well, so they've decided to coincide with me and give us the whole evening free of charge. We've got about 350 people. So it's a good hotel, of course. And in fact, my wife and I are going to stay the night there too. My God, you get a pair of bedroom slippers and, oh boy. I might say it's quite improvement on your Hilton just up the road, but I shouldn't have said that. Sorry. No, it's okay. No, but I was born in 1931, and during the 1930s when I was growing up, I started placing books on Africa, and I can never understand why, because I've never even been abroad. But I recollect these books now when I read them, and I find that they're basically one long tale of slaughter from one page to the next. You know, you read, I only shot 4 rhino this morning, I had a bad morning. That was the era in which we were living in those days, when there was masses of wildlife, and it did seem with some people to just, if it moved, you shot it. And in fact, relevant to that, I've just bought a new book actually on the horrors of poaching, full of the most horrendous photographs. And there's a picture in that book, which I've had enlarged, and I show it at my talk shows now, my lectures. It's an Englishman in his topee, probably about 1910, and behind him are 68 tiger skins on a clothesline. 68, I counted them. No, in no way can you say that's hunting. It isn't hunting, it's just butchery. But I suppose you could justify it by saying I suppose they didn't know any better in those days. Anyway, These books inspired me to be a game warden. I had this over-romanticised idea that being a game warden was tremendous fun, frightfully exciting, frightfully romantic, walking around in short pants in the suntan with leopard skin around my hat, like all those ghastly Hollywood movies they used to make in those days. And they still do too. And so immediately I left school, I trotted out to Kenya thinking I was God's gift to the Kenya National Parks, never having been to Africa, never having been to anywhere, and except France. And who the hell wants to go to France? I always managed, it's a funny thing, I always managed, however often I talked, I always managed to get that reference in. It's totally irrelevant, but I'm British, you see. And this is what the English and the Americans come together, because we all hate the French. Sorry, I must get back to the serious. Back to serious business. I went up to Kenya, knocked on the door of the head game warden and said, "Can I be a game warden?" He said no, so that was the end of my life. Disaster number one. Disaster number two followed on very shortly, because I came home again with my world in ruins. And I had two choices. One was to either drive a bus in London or else pursue art. And if I say pursuit of art, the only painting I'd ever done up to this point was when I was at school. Such an unspeakably ghastly picture of birds, which I still have to show to people, to convince them there's hope for everybody when I show them. Because I was not interested in art anyway. The only reason why I painted that bird picture when I was at school was to escape playing rugby or soccer, because I just felt it was rather silly activities to have your neck broken in heaps of riding bodies in the mud. Totally stupid bloody sport it is. And that was the only reason why I did that painting. Well, having failed to be a game warden, I thought, well, I'd either drive a bus or be an artist. And my dad said, well, you better go to art school if you want to be an artist, because it's better than being a bus driver. I showed this bird painting to the art college, and they promptly threw me out. They said, go and drive a bus, because you're on the nose there. And that's the great success story of the young David Shepherd. Contrary to what people think, you know, that I started painting elephants from the moment I was born. Far from it. But it was all sheer luck after that. I met the man who trained me. It's far too long a story to tell. To whom I owe absolutely everything. My whole breathing every moment of my life is in gratitude to that man. I was introduced to him at a party and he said, "I'm not going to teach you, David, because I don't teach anybody," which is a bit shattering. But if you want me to see this ghastly picture of yours of birds, show it to me tomorrow. So I drove up to London and showed it to him, and a miracle happened. I think he said something like, "Oh my God, anybody who paints as badly as that, I've just got to teach him." And the end of the story, this was 1949 when I finished my training. And I was lucky again, because my dad, I'm going to be very quick now because I don't want to bore you, but my dad sheltered me, my dad and mum sheltered me for the first 12 months after I'd had my training, so I didn't have to rush out into the commercial world and immediately earn my living. So my career started at Heathrow Airport. Not many people know that. I don't know, because it's not really interesting, I suppose, but aviation was my first passion. And living just near the airport, I got a permit to drive wherever I wanted. It's a very sad manifestation of life as it is now, one of many sad manifestations of how things change, because we all know Heathrow now is security like yours, and guns and